Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Monday. Apologies for being late. Usually drop these on Sunday. What a weekend. Just as you can imagine, I'm exhausted. I was supposed to have jury duty today. So in my mind, I was going to do the podcast, record it after the Chiefs-Bills game last night. But luckily, it was canceled and I didn't have to report. So I got to sleep in this morning, and you're going to get this in early afternoon. Thankful my Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl. I was in Atlanta this weekend and flew home yesterday afternoon just in time. I had people coming over to watch the games. Shout out to my wife who did all the cooking and made all the hors d'oeuvres and had everything prepared. I basically came in, dropped my bags off, and people started showing up for the NFC and the AFC championship games yesterday. So definitely she put all the work in for that. Shout out to her. And I had all Bills fans. I'm a Chiefs fan, and I had all these Bills fans at my house yesterday. And I was happy to celebrate singly by myself. But happy they're there. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. And you know what else I'm happy about? I'm happy there was no big controversial call at the end of the game that everybody was like, "Oh, the Chiefs did it." No, it was. I thought it was a really good game. I thought either team could have won. I'll say what I've been saying for a few Super Bowls now, for the Chiefs is I think it just comes down to coaching. I think they're Andy Reid and Spagnuolo. I just think that their coaching they're out coaching the other coaches and the other teams. So it's been a hobby weekend. Hobby weekend. It's like a hobby weekend on steroids, right? It started Friday morning. I was up at 4 a.m. Getting ready to go to the airport for an early flight to Atlanta, meeting my co-pilot for the weekend, Tyler at M&TCards. Although I'd like to say that morning went smooth, I definitely hit some bumps in the road that morning. Whenever I travel, I prepare early. If I need to be at an airport at 6, I'll plan on being there at 5, just in case there's any hiccups along the way, I can prepare for it. And nothing has ever come up, right? Ever in all these years of doing that. And that morning I got in my car, I'm all packed up, I'm ready to go. I leave, I'm heading over to jump on the highway, and my phone won't connect to the and the Bluetooth in the car, right? And I can't figure out what's going on. I'm like, and it's happened once before, and I just ignored it and I shut the car off. And when I turned it back on, it just reconnected fine. So this time I'm like, well, you know what? Before I jump on the highway, there's nobody around, right? It's like 4:30 in the morning. I said, I'm just gonna pull over. I'll turn the car off. I'll turn it back on. It'll connect. I'll be fine. I'll jump on the highway. I turn the car off. I go to turn it back on, and this little thing goes on the dashboard and says the key is not located in the car. I'm like, what? Yes, it is. It's right here. It's in my pull the key out. I'm doing everything. There's nowhere to put a key in anymore, right? It's like, and I'm thinking, well, did the battery die? Do I have to like take this thing apart and move the battery around or something? I had no idea what was going on. Now it just started the car, 10 minutes ago. So trying it. And like after 5, and it kept coming up that same error. And after 5 minutes, all of a sudden the car just starts. And I'm like, oh, thank God. All I had to do is call the wife and say, hey, you need to bring the other key. And I'm like 2 miles away from the house. It started, the phone didn't connect. I don't know why it didn't that morning. Who knows why? I just drove all the way down there. I parked the car, I turned it off, and then starts right up. Not only did it start up, but the phone immediately connected to so I'm like, wow, I just wanted to give me a little early morning scare, right? And it's worked fine since. I would think probably a low battery. But I met Tyler at the airport. We got on our plane, and then our plane had to sit there for an hour waiting for a de-icer to come and de-ice the plane. Apparently, they only have one, and they had to do a minor repair to it. So we had to sit there for an hour. It's interesting, though, because it really only delayed our flight like for 20 or 30 minutes, even though we'd sat there for an hour waiting to take off. But finally, we get in the air, smooth sailing. We get down there. We get to the hotel, I think around 11:30. Room was ready, which was nice. I remember this last year going to Culture Collision, like showing up at like 10:30 in the morning, and they're like, "Yeah, the room is ready," which is a huge help because when you're coming in with all your stuff, you know, a lot of you're mixing a lot of stuff that you're taking to the show in with your personal stuff, and you don't want to be dragging your suitcases to the show itself. So it's always nice to have the room ready to drop your stuff off. So yeah, we dropped it off. We headed right over to the show. We go to check into the show, and I give my name, and she's like, "No, I don't have you on the list. Sports card lessons, no. Ken, no. These are our table numbers. No, those aren't your tables." I'm like, "Yes, there are tables." And they're looking at Tyler and I are looking at each other like, "Come on, man." I'm showing him my receipt. I'm showing him my email. Like, here's my receipt from, that I, and the two of them are going back and forth, and they can't figure out where we're supposed to, what's going on. Getting a little anxious here. And another girl comes over and says, "Do you have the email with the barcode?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She scans the phone. She goes, "Oh, you're all set." Well, I'm like, what? Yeah, yeah, you're all set. Here's your badges. You're good. Go. I'm like, we've been standing here for 10 minutes trying to get in. Figured there was going to be a problem there too. No, we got right in. So we get in, we get set up, right? VIP access actually starts at 10 a.m. on Friday. So it had been going on for a couple hours, but the actual show started at 1 p.m. on Friday. I'm sorry, on Friday. The show started at 1 o'clock on Friday. Friday was the 1 to 7, Saturday was 9 to 5, and Sundays 8 to 4. And starting on Friday, it was just one of those shows that was just constant all the time. People coming, people coming. I Saturday was a much busier crowd there, but Friday was just constant. There was always people at the table. There was always interacting with somebody there. The first part of the day on Friday, as usual, is mostly dealers just trying to buy stuff, just to go put in their case, see if they can come over, snipe a good deal from you, and go put it in their case. I was putting cards in, and a guy comes over when I'm putting them in, and he said, "Oh, can I see that Caitlin Clark draft night, the PSA 10?" So I hand it to him. I had it stickered at 250. The recent comps are around 225. There was actually the night before there was a 240 sale, but they'd been around 225, 230 on that card. He offered me 185. I said, "Look, I'm in the middle of setting up," and I could see he had the badge on, the lanyard that he was a dealer to. I really don't have time to be negotiating. So if you want the card, it's 220, and that's the non-negotiation price. Like, just that's it, bottom line. And he fires right back, 200 cash. I said, the non-negotiation is 220. He says, "I'll give you 200 cash for it." I said, "No, I'm firm at 220, non-negotiable." He said, "Look, you got to let me make, at least $20 on the card. I mean, I got to make something on the card." And I just started laughing. I'm like, "Really? Really? Why should you make $20 on the card?" I'm confused because I ordered the card, right? It came in the mail. I sent it off to grading. and now I brought it to the show. I'm confused. Why should you make $20 on this card? I'm giving it to you for less than what the last sale was. And he said, okay, well, here's your card back. If you change your mind, I'm right here next to you. I'll give you 200 cash. And then he sits down at the table next to me. The guy's my neighbor. He's sitting right next to me. He wanted to take the card out of my case, put it in his case, and make $20. It's literally the table right next to me. Had no Caitlin Clark at all in his case, and I've got a whole case full of Caitlin Clark. Funny. Just it wasn't the first of our negotiations throughout the weekend, as you can imagine. But we never got a deal done. He ended up being kind of a nice guy, you know. He didn't have anybody there with him, and he kept asking me to watch his table, right? So, but we never got a deal done. On Friday, there were a number of people that came up to the table and immediately, said, "Hey, I'll take a whole bunch of this stuff. If you could be around 80% or 82% or 83%." And because I was sitting on so much modern football in the case, I was attracting most of those people because this is what people want to buy. This is what they're buying. I mean, there's recent comps on it. If they can go by a recent comp, they're just quick flips or whatever they're doing with them. So as you can imagine, for me, there were a lot of no's on Friday. I mean, look, I'm just setting up. I'm not letting cards go at 80% immediately. Right. Maybe late in the day on Saturday, or maybe if you pulled out a stale card, but I'm not doing a blanket package deal at 80% of all these cards that I've worked so hard, getting and grading and doing all this stuff. I'm not there. Friday was a decent day. I think most of my sales came between 5 and 7 late in the day. And I'm sure that's because people were just coming in, right? They're traveling to get to this show. They're probably coming in later in the day on Friday, and they're just getting there. So I was able to make some deals later in the day on Friday. But again, solid day of steady traffic all day. Saturday was going to be the busy day. It always is at a show like this. Tyler and I were only going to be here for Friday and Saturday, so we weren't going to be there for the Sunday show. We're flying home Sunday morning, so we wanted to be there early Friday, get everything we could out of Friday and Saturday for the show. And it seemed like there was a lot of people. I don't know what Sunday looked like there, and if anybody was there Sunday, you can certainly reach out and let me know. But a lot of people I talked to said that one of the biggest things I heard from other dealers and people at that show all weekend is, "I'll be home for the games on Sunday." That's what I heard people talking about, and that's what they were saying most of the time. I knew I was going to be home for the games on Sunday, and I think a lot of other dealers. I have a feeling that there was a lot of empty tables on Sunday at that show. So Friday night after the show, Tyler and I, we grabbed dinner. We headed down to the trade night in the hotel lobby. Grabbed the table, threw our cards out on the table. I did this show last year, and I can say that the trade night had a lot more people. It was a lot crazier last year at the trade night. This year's trade night seemed less people at it, but more lucrative, I think, for a lot of people, because I know for myself, I sold more at the trade night Friday night in the hotel lobby than I sold at the show on Friday, set up at the show. And I think, like I just said earlier, too, for the late in the show sales, I think a good number of people had just arrived, checking into the hotel, right? We're anxious and happy to get down to trade night, get ready to start making some deals. And a lot of the people that I saw at the trade night, I did not see at the show on Friday. Uh, and people were paying stronger at the trade night. The offers were stronger at trade night than I was getting in the show on Friday. Uh, and for whatever reason, you know, people were like, I want to say they were paying closer to comp. And a lot of the stuff that I sold, right, was that $20 to $70 one touch cards, right, that I was selling. So there's not a lot of difference. There's only a few dollar differences in percentages going up. So say the last one sold at $35, right? And somebody would be, you'll take 30, 100% I'll take 30. No problem. And we're looking at an eBay sale that included shipping and taxes and whatever else is happening and sold for 35. I'm happy to do 30, right? Perfect. So stuff like that. And I think those offers were stronger where when I was in the show and there's probably a lot of dealers coming around would say, oh, you'll take 15 on that card, or will you take 10 on that card? Like the last one, they'll say the last one was 30. Well, I see the 35, but there was a sale here for 20 or 19. So you'll take 10 or 12 and stuff like that. So it's a lot different at the trade night. Like people are just looking at the last sale saying, hey, and I think people do a lot. What I do is like I'll buy these cards now. I'll buy the Bo Nix now. I'll buy these rookie quarterbacks, the Michael Penix Jr., and I'll hold on to them and hopefully a month or two from now, or maybe even take them to go grade them, right? There were I had talked about and I showed you guys I had a lot of those mosaic cards that I picked up from the White Plains show. And I wasn't going to take the time to try to grade the mosaic, like the yellow reactives and the pink camos and things like that. I just don't think there's a whole lot of value if you miss. It's a swing and a miss. Like if you can get a 10 on it, you're going to make some value. But if it comes back a 9, there's no value. You wasted a lot of I would have wasted a lot of time. So certain cards like that, I don't want to take a chance. If I had a Prism Silver, right? Yeah, I may take a chance on that if I think it has a chance to gem. But lower end cards like that, I'm not. I don't want to send them off to PSA and be waiting, 2 months for them to come back a 9, and then you know may have to sit on them all the way until August to try to make a small percentage on those cards. So happy to move those. So yeah, that trade night was good. Friday night, Saturday morning, back to the show. There was a line before the doors opened on Saturday morning. There was quite a line. I went out to grab a coffee and I could see the line. I'm like, all right, this is going to be a decent show. A lot of people waiting to get in to the show. And it's I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a great location. Everything is there. I talked about this. If you don't want to leave, you really don't have to leave. I mean, between the hotel and the show, it's just what you're inside, just walking to the next, you know, just on the other side. The hotel's on one side, the convention center, and there's a lot of things going on. I mean, they had a gymnastics competition going on. They had a dancing competition going on. So there was a lot of things going on in this hotel. A couple of things at this show, I believe, worked for me and against me, or like worked for dealers and against dealers. First of all, not all the tables were sold out. That room is kind of split in two. You have the front and the back of the room. So the complete front and the sides, they were full. The back, there was about half of the back that was full, but the other half was not full. Those tables weren't full. So I don't mind that. So as people coming to the show, they were like, oh, they said that it was sold out and it was this, it was that, that back part of the room. Like, oh, I remember there was people. I know because I was set up there with Craig and Carmine in that back part of the room last year. But there was nothing set up there this year. But that's okay because it's less competition for me, right? I don't mind that. I don't mind going if there's less dealers at a show. In fact, I like to go to shows that have, may have less dealers or, people less of selling the same thing I am. There were more buying stations in that room that I've probably seen at any show, and I'm starting to see this come up at a lot of these shows where the people are putting up these huge things with buying stations, and even though, I mean, these buying stations, they have a couple cases. They usually have mostly high-end cards in there. Prices are astronomical. They're not willing to budge on any pricing. So I don't have to worry about it. I mean, I know they're not selling any cards. Those cards are there for attraction. They're attracting people to come over so that they could say, "Oh, hey, what are you selling? Let's see what you got there." And some of those places on Friday had lines. People were just waiting in line to go up, just like I had seen at White Plains the weekend before when I was there on Friday on the early bird on Friday. There was a buying station and there was a line of people with their, going up to sell their cards. So, so again, that's creating more opportunity for me because here's dealer tables that are being used for just people to buy that nobody's selling at those, right? But on the opposite end, very little opportunity for me to buy. Most of the people that were coming up to my table saying, and I had my buying sign, they said, "Are you buying?" Of course I am. I'll see what you have, and going through the stuff. Two things were happening. One, it was the stuff that these buying stations did not want to buy. Or two, the person who had this card wanted 100 or 105 or 110% comps on the card, did not want to sell it for 80 or 85 or 90 or whatever, they're asking. I did not approach any of those buying stations. I don't know any of the people that do that. But some of the people that came to the table that I did know that said they had gone to some of the buying stations, and the sign says paying 90 to 100%, but they're getting offered 75% or 80% on their cards, right? So, which to me sounds about right, but again, if you're just reading that sign that says 90 to 100, you're a little disappointed if you're getting offered 75. So Saturday, I'll start off by saying Saturday was probably the biggest single day show for me as a dealer. And I can say that even going all the way back to right after COVID, when they opened up the shows again, and the shows were crazy. This Saturday was probably my biggest day show for me as a dealer. It was somewhat of the perfect storm that came together and allowed me to sell off 90% of my inventory. It worked out that I was also able to help people out find some PC cards. And that happens much less than you think. Uh, Somebody comes up to your table and they see a card and they'll pull out a paper, or they just know, or they'll talk to me about, "Oh, this was the card I've been looking for." And then they'll show me some pictures of rainbows or collections. And we have a great conversation about a card. And all of a sudden I remember, wow, this is great. Like this is kind of what it was like for a long time before it got crazy, and it became that everyone coming to buying from me is just there to make money. They all have an angle. They're all figuring out where they can buy this and sell it off to somewhere else, and what their percentages are going to be and things like that. And I'm not knocking it, because I understand I'm doing the same thing. I'm paying for the table, though. I'm on this side of the table. So I'm making it known, right? Saying I'm a dealer. I paid for this table on this side. I have these cases. I have these cards. I'm making it known what I'm doing, right? But most people that are just walking the show, they're doing the same thing. They're figuring if they can get it at this price, they can move it at that price. So you don't sell cards that somebody's very often that somebody's not going to resell, that somebody's happy to get this card and put it in the PC. So this was a show that people were showing up looking for specific things. And even if I didn't have it, they were still coming to ask for it, say, "This is what I'm looking for." Like, and if you don't have it, do you know who would? Because I need this for my PC. So it was nice to see a decent amount of people like that too, that were showing up, that were looking to buy and building their own PC. one of the surprising things to me about the show was there was little to no interest in my WNBA cards. And I know my listeners out there have been bashing that WNBA saying, I told you, Ken, right? But, Caitlin Clark, I mean, everybody's got Caitlin Clarks in their case. I don't care who you are and what you're selling now. I had Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink, Angel Reese, a number of Paige Beckers and a number of, not so, popular WNBA players too in there. People looked, people pointed, people said how cool, how nice. But up until Saturday afternoon, I hadn't sold any women's basketball cards. Super, super surprised that I didn't sell. With all the Caitlin Clark cards that I had, super surprised that I didn't sell any. And I had a variety and the PSA 10s and 9s and every price level you could imagine I had for Caitlin. And on Saturday afternoon, a guy walked up to my table. He said, "Hey, do you mind if I take a video?" I said, "No." I could tell he was on FaceTime and he had an earpiece in and he had been talking a little bit and he was videotaping some stuff. And then he just kind of stepped to the side, having a conversation on the phone. And I was dealing with somebody else. And then he said, "Can I get you to take some cards out? I'm interested in buying some cards." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But I don't, let me know up front what we're doing. I don't want to pull them all out for you to offer me like 80% on these cards." He says, no, it's nothing like that. He said, I'm seriously interested in buying the car. I said, okay, great. Open it up. Took all my Caitlin Clarks out, all my low-end Paige Beckers, and some other WNBA player cards that were in there. Football cards, a bunch of football cards, and in total, 46 cards took out. Looked up all the last comps on the cards and wasn't going back to, look back 3 or 4. It was like, hey, look, this last one sold or these last 2 sold at this. I was happy. Setting up as a dealer, talk about this all the time. If the last card sells at $100, right, I'm not going to put $100 on it, right? I'm going to put 110 or 115 on it. And then we get back to 100 and then we work our way from there, right? So we totaled it all up and he said to me, what could we do on this? I said, non-negotiation, you're buying all these cards. We could do 93%. He said, perfect. Took all the cards. Both happy. This negotiation, and we commented on this, he was happy to pull them all out. He was happy I gave him a discount because there were so many cards. I'm happy to make the sale. I'm happy to get that percentage on the cards. It was probably the easiest bulk deal I've ever done. And it worked. And you're probably saying to yourself, oh, you should have asked for more. Like the first thing someone said to me when I told them this, they said, why did you say 93? You should have said 98. I said it was the no negotiation sale, right? I could have said 98 and he could have said 90 and I could have said 96 and he could have said no. I mean, this is the best deal. We were both happy. He was happy to pay, shook hands. We had a great conversation. He walked off. It was the best deal of the day I did. Hands down, best deal of the day I did. I know he was buying for somebody else. He really didn't give me a whole lot of other information, but he was there buying cards for somebody else, and it worked out perfectly. Heading out, when I was getting ready to go out there, I had to decide what inventory I was going to bring and what was going to be most important. And I was almost sorry that I left a bunch of lower end stuff at home just because of a room, being able to pack all this stuff. As it was, I paid for an extra carry-on bag and I put 3 2-row boxes in there, as well as all my supplies in this one carry-on bag that probably weighed like 125 pounds. I mean, this thing was so heavy. But the two-row boxes were $3. They were all football, $3, $5, $10 cards. And I knew I was taking a chance, if it was going to pay off bringing them, or I was just going to be paying for, what the bag cost me to get down there and back, and a whole lot of moving the cards around. But I have to say, I sold enough out of these boxes probably to pay for the trip. So I felt the gamble definitely paid off for the carry-on luggage. And it's something I really don't do. If I am traveling to a show, just say, you know what, I'm just going to take these, bigger slabs. I'm going to throw them in my backpack, and that's it. They're on my person the whole time. This was a little different. This was like, I'm gonna try something. I have this idea. I'm gonna try something a little more. So I loaded this stuff up with the and it paid off big time. I have to say, no regrets, and I'll probably do it again, whatever the next show is I travel to, if I'm setting up. It wasn't easy rolling that carry-on bag, the weight that thing was around the airport and lifting it and things like that, but it was definitely a lot lighter coming home. But after I did that big sale, that was the like my last sale of the day on Saturday. I still had, my older WNBA graded stuff. I had some more modern WNBA players, not named Caitlin or Cameron. I had some pop culture cards, so I still had probably a handful of football cards left as well. So when the show ended on Saturday, I packed everything up, and I had so much stuff. It's one of those things where, you go to the show, you go back to the room, you bring more stuff down to the show, you go back. So at the end on Saturday, I had like 2 trips worth that I just packed everything as best as I could and balanced it and everything. And I'm like, hopefully I'll make it all the way back to the hotel room so I don't have to make 2 trips, right? So I get in the elevator and I run into this guy in the elevator. He's like, "Oh my God, look at all this crap you have." I said, "Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't drop it." He says, "What kind of stuff are you selling?" I said, "Well, I'm selling, football and WNBA." And he's like, "Oh, that's the stuff I'm interested. I didn't even see you in the show today." And I said, "Yeah." And I was kind of giving him a little breakdown. We're only on the elevator, right? Couple floors. The door opens. He said, "Are you here tomorrow?" I said, "No." I said, "But if you're interested," I couldn't pull my phone out or anything. I had my hands full. I said, look me up on Instagram, send me a message, follow me. I said, I'll let you know what I have. He said, "Okay." Doors close. I walk away. I didn't think anything of it after that. Got changed, got ready for dinner. We were going to Cards HQ trade night Saturday night. So, through what I had left in cards in the backpack to go to the trade night. So Tyler and I headed out for dinner, got on the elevator, got to the lobby, the doors open, and of course, who's standing right in front of us is the guy that I was talking to in the elevator earlier. And he says, "You have any of those cards on you?" I said, "Actually, I do right now." He said, "Let me check them out." So I took all the cards out, lay them down. He pulled, probably 95% of what I had in that, and pulled it all out. He said, I want to buy these. Let's, you know, tally it up. Let's get this deal done. So I was able to make another huge deal in the lobby heading out to dinner on Saturday night. So when I say my bags were light traveling home, my bags were light. After we did that deal, Tyler and I, we went to dinner. We headed over to Cards HQ. I had no cards for trade night. I didn't even bring a bag in to trade night. I just walked in. So Tyler went, made deals at trade night, and I went and I found Jeff Wilson and got the tour of Cards HQ, their their recording studio, their break-in area, their packaging and shipping. receiving. It's quite an operation they got going on over there. So I was super excited to get to check out the behind the scenes, look behind the curtain over at CardsHQ. So shout out to Jeff for the tour. And you could imagine that place was packed Saturday night. You know, it's definitely a good time over there. It was the same last year. I think it was even more insane last year because they just opened the store last year. But it's definitely packed. And of course, after that, we went back to the hotel, back to the trade night, in the lobby on Saturday night, which was, a lot going on there too. But when we were at Cards HQ, we bought some wax. So I was looking forward to ripping some stuff. I bought a box of the Cello, or 2 boxes of the Cello football. So I was looking forward to ripping those. But in reality, I had nothing left. I have no cards left. And I'm thinking in my mind, am I going shopping? Am I ripping? Am I buying single? Like, what am I doing? I mean, I'm in a position, if I wanted just to do a hard reset, I could. I mean, I'm already in, like, already almost at the hard reset right now. So if I wanted to go in a different direction, I could. But I've been enjoying my lane here for a few years in my modern football and ripping and grading and selling, knowing what to buy, knowing when to let it go, not worrying about getting the absolute every penny out of a card, right? Just being happy to move it, leave some meat on the bone, for the next person. If you're buying right and you're grading right, you can sell right, and people can be happy. I do have some pickups from the weekend I'll share with you. I'm going to start with a couple recent hits that I had, that I'm excited to talk about. So one was this Ricky Pearsall, and not a big dollar amount, but I was happy to get it. The pink Prism Auto, Ricky Pearsall. If you're on YouTube, I'm holding that up. A couple hits that I had in a break. This Joe Milton, True Orange Prism to 249, and the green Joe Milton green Hyper. Hold that up. That is to 180. And I show you those two, and I had bought a retail box. I bought a case of Don Russ blasters and one retail box to rip during the Super Bowl. During the NFC AFC championship games yesterday. So between games, at halftime, things like that, just a fun rip with everybody around. And out of the retail box, I pulled this Joe Milton checkerboard Prism. So I have like a Joe Milton PC going on here, but a lot of people seem to be excited on this guy, thinking he'll get traded. So I'm happy to have those right now. And I know you're thinking, I just heard you say you ripped a whole case of Don Russ, so you must have hit it downtown, which I did. But not super exciting, but it is the Terrell Owens TO downtown. So I will look at this a little later to see if it's gradable or not. Pickups at the show. Well, I could probably share this because I was talking about my Joe Milton PC. This is a redemption for rookie autographs Prism No Huddle. Joe Milton. I don't have to hold it up. It's just a redemption. And I also got this from Absolute Football Redemption. Congratulations. You pulled the redemption card. Good for a glass insert. So this is the case hit on the Absolute. If it's not a Kaboom, I guess it's this. And this is the Ricky Pearsall one. So I have that as well. Some Caitlin Clark pickups, Campus Legends, blue, number to 199. Caitlin Clark Kaleidoscope. And these were pack pulled cards that I saw get pulled and bought them. Paige Beckers. Now it's funny. I was telling Tyler, he was like, "You still?" I'm like, "No, Paige is not a good buy right now, right?" But then people come to my table because they see I have the stuff in there, and then they're, you know, all of a sudden they ended up at a price that I couldn't refuse. So this was a raw. This was the Paige Becker's X Fractor, and it looks very good. I'm going to look it over, closely today, uh, to get it graded. Um, a Paige Becker's Refractor, PSA 10. And these are cards that came to my table. This was now we're into the Juju. Oh no, I got one more page. So this page I ordered from Panini Instant. So I ordered this back in October, and it showed up Saturday in the mail. So this was the Paige Becker's first card. So when she signed with Panini, this was the first set of cards they got out, and this was the I can't think what's Jungle. I guess it was the Green Jungle. It was numbered to 25, and I bought it. So that took forever to show up in the mail. And I bought some Juju Watkins. This is the purple. This one's numbered to 399. This one is raw. And these two are graded. This was Juju Watkins Refractor from the Bowman U, PSA 10. And probably my favorite pickup was this is the Topps from the Topps Chrome McDonald's All-American. This is the game day paper auto with the on-card auto. And this was a PSA 9. And I negotiated. There were a lot of people there with Juju Watkins cards, had some nice cards there, and they were not budging on prices. I negotiated hard on 2 separate cards there that I didn't come home with. And it was just the point that both people wanted over what the comps are, and probably, a year from now they will be at that price, but it's a long time between now and then. And I didn't want to buy it at a price that was more than what they're selling for now. So I was happy to go home with what I did go home with, and there'll be other opportunities for more Juju Watkins cards. So overall, Culture Collision was amazing. It's the second year I did this show. I did it last year as well. This year was no comparison. It was crazy because last year every table was sold out, and I think more people attended that show last year. This year, not all the tables were sold out. Less people attended. Amazing year for me. So you can't go by, when that place was packed, that's the best show you ever had, right? You never know. You never know. You could show up at a show that 10 people walk through the door for that show. It could be the best show you ever had, or you could show up and 10,000 people come through there and you don't sell a thing. It was the worst show you ever had. So you never know how a show is going to turn out. This just happened to be my show. It was an amazing show for me. I will be back Thursday with a brand new Hobby Chop episode. I hope you guys are enjoying that. I'm having fun chopping it up with the guys. And it's a nice change of pace for me. I do these solos. You're going to keep getting these solos, but it's nice to bring these guys in and have more of a roundtable feel to them. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.